Texas judge faces death threats after reducing bail for teen murder suspect. Judge Angela Tucker, who lowered Karmelo Anthony's bond from $1 million to $250,000, is now under increased security as the FBI investigates threats against her. So, as you already know, bail came down. He was released on probation. The judge got a bunch of death threats. He got death threats, him and the family, which led to a whole other fiasco when people started paying attention to where they live and, expenses allegedly. And I keep saying the catalyst for a lot of the vitriol and anger I'm seeing across social media about this case is that it's not a GoFundMe. It's called what's the name of that website? Hold on, y'all. Is the Go Send Go. Give Send Go account. This is basically GoFundMe, obviously. That account and how much money is in it is the is the backbone of a lot of the anger I'm seeing across social media. So of course, at some point, it turned into an attack. They started lying on these people. But before we get to that, I want to show this here. She got increased security. Angela Tucker, a Collins County, lowered the bond from 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony from $1 million to $250,000, allowing his release under house arrest. Anthony's accused of fatally stabbing fellow student Austin Metcalf. We know the school track on April 2nd. The decision to reduce the bail sparked backlash, with Tucker receiving threats and having her personal information shared online. The Collin County Sheriff's Office and the FBI were investigating the threats, and additional security measures have been implemented for Tucker. Anthony release conditions include wearing an ankle monitor, remaining under house arrest, and avoiding contact with the victim's family. Supporters have raised over $425,000 for his legal defense, while a fundraiser for Metcalf's family has gained more than $350,000. What up? This whole story, and I say all the time, certain stories are only put in front of you because they want you to see it. You know how much stuff happens every day across the country? Shootings, robberies, all type of hate crimes happen every week, all week. There's big stories that happen across the country, but the stories you see is the stories they want you to see. Craig said so many black people want Karmelo Anthony in jail. It's sad. Well, it's expected. And this is really the reverse card they've kind of put out there now. I said earlier, there was an attempt months ago to try and convince black people to become this, to turn it back to 2016. I'm sorry, 2020. They wanted black people in the streets, protesting Trump, protesting him going against this blackity black thing or whatever. And it hasn't quite came out that way. So they found a way to get the other side in the streets. So before I'm going to show this, the threats they was putting on this woman's life. And if I'm not mistaken, this judge that they are doxing, I'm pretty sure she's Republican. So this is not some liberal judge who, at least I don't think so, some liberal judge who was just always going to release him, whatever. She was somebody who they would consider a person who's honest about what's going on in the country because of her politics, at least. As you can see here, this so-called influencer here posted her, and people started poking. People started posting in the comment section. Imagine that if it was a white kid, that wouldn't have happened. Exactly. And they started posting these pictures here of him holding weapons, even though in this picture you see here, that's how you know these people are just, there's no honesty in them. In this picture, there are white people standing next to him, but they clip the other people out to paint a narrative about him. And I'll say this, when the story initially broke, it was not racial. Black people's commentary was on it. Damn. Niggas was a little shook a little bit, like, snap. Here we go. This dude done stabbed up some white kid at school. People was like, here we go with this. And then they started painting it as the black guy was the antagonist. He was the one who was doing stuff he had no business doing, and he was the one who pushed violence. And then came out, it was a little more complicated than that. Wait for more information. And now you got more people painting. Yeah, it's a racial thing now. Now we here because y'all keep posting stuff like this. Peekaboo said the white MAGA January 6th, a guy is protesting in Fresno, Texas, crying for white people to get a hate bill against black people. White people aren't saying anything about Casey Allison. Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about that to Casey Allison stabbing a Hispanic guy. Yeah, I'm going to say that too. Virginia said, yes, he is. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that protest, because that's the whole point of this. They found a way, and it kind of was a flop. Because if I'm going to show a video, there really was no one there. It didn't quite go the way they're trying to pin it out to be. But I'm going to get to who I think is behind it, as always. Who took a picture with him. Shout out to Honorable. I saw this because she commented on this, and she was like, here we go with the photo op, which is it is kind of crazy how fast these people would make sure to take pictures with people to try and act like they're trying to just show support in the case. But this person says Karmelo Anthony is safe at home. The moment is a reminder that our community united can never be divided. The journey ahead is long, but today we celebrate a victory for justice, for family, and for the power of people coming together to protect our youth. Thank you to everyone who stood with us. The fight continues, but tonight Karmelo is home. And I want to show who this guy is. Shout out to Black Alpha Media. They posted this. They said, here's Dominique Alexander, the man who was in the picture with Karmelo Anthony just now, the advocate for the Karmelo Anthony case, saying that Latinos and blacks built America together. He is also plugged in with Jasmine Crockett. We have to watch these Democrats trying to pull a Black Lives Matter 2.0. That's what I said. That was the point of a lot of stuff that's going on this year, and this didn't work out that way. So let me show this video.
No justice! No justice! When I say cease, you say pray. Cease! Cease! Hello, y'all. I'm Minister Dominique Alexander, president of the Next Generation Action Network. And I'm going to be very quick but real direct to what we are dealing with right now in America. To my brown and black brothers and sisters. And I want you to know today that we stand in solidarity, not just by words, but actions. This isn't just a Latino issue. It isn't just a black issue. It is a human rights issue. When families are ripped apart, when undocumented people are hunted down like criminals, when refugees are treated like threats instead of people, we all together should be outraged. But what is worse is when we continue to believe that we are different, that somehow, if we are coming for them, they are coming for us. That is a colonialized lie. Black people, Latino people, we are the backbone of this country.
See, this is what happened when you allow, this is what I was talking about a couple weeks ago when I said that a lot of the movements that came in the 60s and 70s with the Panthers and all those stuff that came, 30s, 40s, 50s and stuff, all the way up to the early 80s. The reason why this stuff failed is because the center of it was all mixed up. People's messaging was, they try too hard to build this rainbow coalition. Still, in 2025, they're still trying to build this rainbow coalition. They're still trying to build this this organization full of every race that's about fixing the injustices of the world. It's like we all don't have biases for our own cultures. And that's why it always plunge and just end up turning into a scam, really. You just can't trust these people that's constantly in front of a mic and keep telling you you're the same as another demographic, rather than focusing on your own. Just focus on what is so hard about focusing on your own, especially politically. And even in these social dynamics, we start talking about this quote unquote social justice stuff that goes on. Deal with yours first, and if people can benefit from it, then it is what it is. But yours should be the priority. You go and use your voice that you build on your platform and put it towards other communities, and then they don't do the same for you. Just because they come out here and walk on the street with you don't mean they're in support of you. This is all just somebody trying to gain social credit points so they can post pictures online and say that they're a good person. And they have no hatred in their hearts. But yeah, but how do you vote though? When you're in the house with your family at dinner or some get together, how do y'all talk to each other about what's going on within your own community? You focus on your own. But for some reason, our politicians and quote unquote leaders don't want to do that. Virginia says, "Oh Lord, the world is a stage." Billy says, "Exactly." Craig says, "I'm sick of the black liberals and black conservatives." I saw Brian Logan post a comment. I mean, not a comment. Post a message on X where he said that he pretty much don't align himself with that black conservative influencer stuff anymore. He even pointed out how Candace Owens talks more cultural stuff rather than politics right now. And when she do talk politics, it's normally to do some type of deep dive background on someone. Because these people, it's just getting to the extreme where it's hard to come up off of them. It's getting harder to grift these white people. And let's be honest, we've all seen the grift that a lot of these so-called black conservatives, especially influencers, how much they've been grifting white people the last 6, 7, since Trump kind of came in office. You know, it feels good for some of these so-called right-wingers when they have a black person willing to say stuff to make them not feel racist. That's what I remember. I'll never forget when Kanye West, he made that White Lives Matter shirt. He was at some event, and it had to be this white man had to be over 40, maybe even his 50s or 60s. He walked up to Kanye West and he was crying, saying, "Thank you for seeing my humanity, yada yada yada." And I said, and I knew Kanye was looking at him like a dollar sign, like I'm about to get every dollar out of this dude. When those DMs were released between Diddy and Kanye, when he released those shirts, he cussed Diddy out and said, "Leave me the F alone, stop effing with my money." I said right there, y'all don't see the grift? Kanye is, there's a demographic of white people in this country that will absolutely fund you for just simply saying certain talking points that make them not feel bad about how they think. We see it with Jason Whitlock, Candace Owens for a long time. The other cop dude who was in front of the TV a lot. I keep calling the other dude J. Edgar Hoover. His name is the old guy. I forgot his name. Larry Elder. Peekaboo, so the conservatives independent media is pushing this crap. Savvy Sav's video has let everyone know that Benny Johnson, Matt Walsh, and Black Symbols are creating fake news. They cannot talk about the left. That's exactly. They think that this is, as Black Alpha Network just said, Black Lives Matter too, but the opposite. Alpha Tatum. Thank you. Get on TV and say the most. He say some terrible things in some of these public cases, these police shootings. The Ahmaud Arbery case, that was just disgusting. He's probably the worst I've seen out of all of them. Him and Larry Elder, who came out and defended Zimmerman when he killed Trayvon Martin, saying that he would love that to be his neighbor. These people's pieces of shit. But anyway, this is supposed to be their version of Black Lives Matter. I want to show this too. Like this woman here, this troll who always say niggas on social media, trying to gain that right wing, what's that, edgelord audience. Somebody said he should stay in prison. He'll be committed another murder in less than 3 months. And yet it just said, not if we kill him. And I started seeing that, and I know some of those are bots. I know some of those are bots that's being created to foment more anger online. And really, I saw somebody even posting, I think it was Matt Walsh. He posted something where him and the other people were pretty much calling for a race war. And then it's this right here. They use this as the center of their attack. They accuse the family of taking money out of this and buying an Escalade, Cadillac. They accuse them of using this money to go rent off a home in a gated community, even though they already seem to live they live very well already, it seems. The Escalade they were talking about was actually from 2023. And then, look, I love my people, but I want y'all to just hear me out on this. Normally, when it's one of these very public cases like this, and there's a call for money to be donated, especially for defense or something. I'm not saying that people don't give money, but the fact that his money, his donations, are higher than the Austin Metcalf's parents, their accounts, made me think, who's donating this money? It made me think, who's donating this money? And I'm going to show you why I think that when I get to this next part. But first, I want to get to this. Mother of Karmelo Anthony says family devastated by death threats, spread of misinformation. I'm going to play a small clip here.
In the wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Karmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the court staff. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family. His mental health is deteriorating day by day. We have endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. And the co-founder has stated that clearly. In the reality, we were just notified yesterday that we could begin to withdraw funds. And it still takes several days to receive those funds once a request is made. I don't know why we are being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial. Our son deserves the same rights under the law that everyone is afforded to. He's been raised in a 2-parent home with structure, stability, love, and we put God first in everything that we do. We believe in the Constitution, we believe in the laws of this state, but those laws must apply to all of us, not just some of us. To be clear, we will not speak publicly about specific details of what happened under the tent on that rainy and awful day. There's an active investigation that everyone involved wants to be full and fair. We believe in legal process, and that is where the truth will come out. To the family who experienced the loss, my heart.
Hold on, y'all.
Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We ask for your continued support, patience, and prayers as we navigate this difficult process. Thank you.
Peekaboo says, I hope that the Anthony family will be able to sue for defamation of character. I donated. I have no problem with how they're being they're handling the money. This reminds me of that case also. Remember that kid in Washington, the white kid, who was on a trip with a Catholic church or a Catholic school, and he was accused of saying something racist to the Indian man. And then they beat the case and they sued New York Times or one of them for a whole bunch of money. There's going to be some lawsuits possibly because they're painting this dude as some thug criminal, posting him with weapons and acting like he's some type of gang member. So maybe. Craig said all the red pill niggas want him in jail because they see a decent amount of black women supporting him. Bruh. For a long time, I saw people comparing those red pill dudes to the divester women. And I said, no, you can't do that because both are extremes, but one is calling for the death of children, whatever. But the more I see them talk and express their opinion on certain things, them dudes get mad at the idea of mentorship because I'm not helping some bastard child. Like the stuff they say ain't too far off. Like y'all the same way you accuse women of talking about black boys or not caring, you say stuff that's similar. Like you ain't saying nothing better. You talk about little black boys like damn. You talk about them like dogs. So what's the difference between what you say and them? You ain't no better because you don't like that their mama is a single mother. You gonna talk about them like they're a dog? Like it's still a black child, dog. But you know. What up, Honorable? People say yes, that was in Washington, D.C., Covington High School. Yeah, that's the exact case. I think that may be something that they do similar. Although I don't know any large publications that's saying stuff similar about him. Maybe New York Post kind of put out that because they're the ones that released that article saying that they bought an Escalade and stuff, lying. Although when you go to the article, they didn't quite say that in the article. They just made that the headline for the link. So they might have been able to find a way to get the clicks without lying. So we'll see how that goes. Also, at this press conference, the father of Austin Metcalf came and crashed the press conference. He came there, stood in front of them while they was giving their the talks, and at some point it led to him being removed by police, and they called it disrespectful, obviously. So there's a lot of people asking the question: is it okay for the father to be there? Was that some attempt by him to be intimidate them? I mean, you see they're getting death threats and stuff, and now you're standing there calling yourself trying to be defiant towards them. It can be viewed a certain way. I would imagine the parents should get a restraining order on him, but we'll see. I'm going to show a little bit of the video. Empress says, Pale bully tactics, and the very reason he minus one child. Rip, Pale's love. That's a good point. Your son tried to come with the same level of arrogance, and you see what happened. Now we see where he got it from. And by the way, like Honorable brought up last week, the father does have a case, so it's surprised that he's making himself so public. Anyway, this is him with a brace on after they removed him, disturbing the press conference. They ended up removing him after they came there. Yeah, that's a good point, Regina. Definitely a good point. Definitely seemed like he was trying to be on bully. See, as you can see here, we talked about this. Karmelo Anthony not using moolah for fundraiser even after team satisfies $250,000 bail. They went through the fact check. I know you don't go to Snopes, but they went through this. I read through this first. Pretty much saying the same thing that she said, how they can't even take the money out that fast. You have to wait days before you can get it. We just got alerted. We can now take money out of the account. This is. Oh yeah, and I will say this. Initially, when they came out with the lie that they were taking the money and spending it, these right-wing accounts started posting stuff like this. You see, the caption is, when you kill a white person in America in 2025.
Moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in
It started as mocking memes, but obviously it very quickly turned into more racist things. These people, man. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say when the story initially came out, I didn't have a small chuckle. But I was in a mindset immediately. The house they said they bought with the money was more than the money they have in the account. And like, you don't purchase a house. And this is not how it works. This doesn't work like that. But people said independent media, Benny Johnson, Matt Walsh, and Charlie Kirk. Yeah, Charlie Kirk has been definitely going even more right. Him and Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is one of the dudes that try to paint himself as a conservative that was common sense. What do they call it? A common sense conservative. I'm just going to be honest about things. How you talk. I'm just being honest about things and making docs about it. But obviously, the money get low. The same thing happened with what's his name? The one that used to work. The one that Candace Owens used to work with. I forgot. Damn, what's his name? Anyway, the Jewish guy. I'm just shaking my head. He started going more extreme with his talk. He's the one that came out and said that obviously Derek Chauvin should be pardoned by Trump. And I'm gonna point out why that's important considering his ethnicity. Yeah. Craig, Ben Shapiro. Yeah. I was just looking forward to Craig and Peekaboo. Thanks. Virginia says just months back, the same folks that crime Karmelo for self-defense were hailing Danny Penny as a hero. Exactly. When the story first broke and we started to get more details, they immediately compared it to him. I keep saying that the funding is what led to a lot of the talk online by these accounts, by these people. Like Peekaboo said, the Matt Walsh and Charlie Kirk and them, they kept pointing at the money and how, oh look, he killed a white person, he's getting support. And it's like y'all gave Daniel Penny $1 million. He got over $1 million. Now he got a job with some firm. So his life went up after killing a black person. It actually improved his life. Now I'm gonna show this. Peekaboo brought this up earlier with the protest they set up. Let me show this. Pardoned January 6th defendant organized stabbing protest. Let me show this video. And this is Matt Walsh, what he posted about this. This will be one of the largest protests in history. White Americans are done being pushed around. You see April 19th, 11 a.m., Texas, at the high school parking lot. Stop black violence on white Americans. Now, I want to show this here. This is Jason Whitlock talking to somebody who was on their way to the protest.
I am Jewish by bloodline, Christian by faith, and I understand that my community, there are millions of white Americans out there living in fear every day of being terrorized. Every single day I turn on my X feed and I see hundreds of videos of young black women and men attacking, gang beating, curb stomping, robbing, and terrorizing the white Americans. And
now keep in mind, what you see on your X account is based off your algorithm. Elon, since he took over, has kind of threw a monkey wrench in that and allows random stuff to pop up on your timeline. But if you're seeing a bunch of violent videos, it's because you're looking up violent videos. You're looking up fights and stuff. You're clicking on it. You're interacting with it. Every once in a while, something random will come across your timeline because somebody else is on your timeline. You click their link, and it leads you to somebody else who's in their comments or whatever, and you see something else. But if you're seeing this, it's because you want to see it. But the first part, I'm gonna listen to the rest of this, but I want y'all to focus on the first thing he said as well.
And I have to stand up as a leader of my community and address this for what it is. If it were just a couple cases left or right, here or there, we could, kind of chalk it up to a violent issue in America. But there is statistical data, factual data, 12 times the amount of black people robbing white people as the opposite way. That is a systemic issue that needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about for what it is. We cannot tiptoe around the issue. If we want to solve the culture of black violence in America, this violent hip hop gang culture, we need to name it for what it is. And as a white American myself, I have so much love for my community. I am very worried about the people in my community being assaulted, the modesty, the dignity, the love that they used to share with the white community of the Martin Luther King era, where they wore suits, they went to church, they had this great atmosphere about them. That is completely gone. There's a degenerate culture that is pervasive in a large majority of black Americans, and we need to address it as white Americans and say, please stop predatorizing. And please is a nice word. We're demanding.
So you get the point. So the audacity. You say, wait, what? Jews don't typically identify as white, isn't it? There you go. I was looking for the name. There's a guy in the UK a few years ago during the Brexit years, maybe even before the Brexit years. It was a popular UK right-wing, quote-unquote, white nationalist guy who was very popular over there. I forgot his name because he had multiple names. It turned out that he wasn't who he said he is. And the first thing I took from this guy right here was exactly what Regina said. This right here.
I am Jewish by bloodline.
It just so happens that the first time we see this idea of a white protest for this quote unquote, there's so much black violence on white people is led by, or in this instance, is being pushed by some Jewish dude. He told us, the first thing he told us is, I'm Jewish. So earlier when I brought up the money in the thing and I said, who's donating? I wasn't saying that people aren't donating because they don't believe it. I'm saying the fact that that account raised more than the other account is meant to piss somebody off. Both sides is always, there's a certain group that makes sure they fund and antagonize both sides. That's just my belief. People say, boy, this guy's a joke. He was glad to say he is ish person. This jackass thinks he can control black FBA. Bruh. To try, the idea that you call another culture degenerate when you are calling yourself a white American, the history of violence and torture and the thieves, untrustworthy, liars, the idea of calling, and I can't say the rest of that because they'll call me anti-Semitic. The fact that he's saying this is just hilarious. But calling yourself a white American and calling another culture degenerate is, Jenna says, you know what? Is this whole thing linked to the anti-Sem movement connected to the press? Is it Israel? Donald Trump, what's going on in Israel with he just sent a whole bunch of weapons to Israel to do away with the Palestinians in the Gaza area, but he won't attack Iran. But you see the stuff going on domestic territory where you have stuff like this going on. So I want to show this here. This is the protest. Well, they say it's the protest.
My white friends, where they've been put down, they've been treated like trash just because they're white. And there's so many people say, oh, it's not true, it's not true. It is true. I see it day after day, month after month, year after year, and I'm tired of the anti-white racism. I'm tired of the anti-white hate. I'm tired of the anti-white violence. I will stand on top of a damn bus and scream.
Look at this Negro. You Negroes. Is this a Negro? Look at this Negro.
Of a damn bus and scream that we are going to end this shit right now.
Woo! Yeah! Who that nag upon that horse?
My brother Philip Anderson. Philip Anderson is a January 6th patriot and.
So we've been saying for years, me and Travis, that it's over. The image of the Caucasian male is falling. It's free falling at this point. The second when you're the dominant society, the dominant culture in a country, you're the ones who are the face of power, and you start to be in the streets protesting like this, it means you've lost control and influence. They know it. The second you see Caucasian men in the streets protesting, it's over. Back in the day, that wasn't protesting. That was lynching. We were going out to kill. We were going out to destroy. because we have the power to do it and no one's going to stop us from doing it. When you get outside and you're talking about some peaceful protesting and you're standing on top of a bus in front of a crowd of 16 people talking about anti-white racism. Now, I'm assuming this is before people showed up. I see cameras out there. Maybe this is just the media out there. I don't know. But it's over. As Regina always bring up with what's the name? This shit is over. When you start protesting, that means you feel like you don't have a voice because you're powerless. Praise the Lord. Yeah, it's game over. And it goes back to the money. When you look at society, and you look at the economy, I've seen these same Caucasian accounts, the people in the comments saying stuff. I said this before, that there's such thing as black privilege because their kids can't get jobs because they're not black. Their kids can't get in college because they're not black. I'm just laughing like, what? Y'all are blaming black people when it's y'all. And then you got the Asians that fell into that whole thing about blaming black people for why they're not getting accepted to these Ivy League colleges. And it turned out it was never, your numbers went down because now you're not a part of affirmative action either. We don't have to give you a position in this college. We don't have to allow you at this job if they push it even further, which some people are asking for, to get rid of all the race-based policies.